Hello, and thank you for joining our presentation on intelligent video monitoring. I'm going to give it about another minute for a couple of people that are still trying to log on. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Again, welcome and thank you for joining today's webinar on intelligent video monitoring. My name is Jim Bigelow. I'm the Director of Sales here at Habitech Security. I would like to remind everybody that you are all muted and we'll be able to do some follow-up questions later. Today's objective will be to show you a new solution to an old problem that we've had in the security industry for many years. I'll try to be brief and very respectful of your time. I would guess this will take no more than 30 minutes. What I'd like to do is touch a little bit on the typical traditional ways that we're protecting our outdoor assets currently. A lot of companies hire security guards. The security guard will make maybe 1 or 2 passes through your facility in an evening, and they're very expensive, cost maybe upwards of $3,000 per month for this service. It's typically a pretty reactionary service. They pull in, they see something happened, they call the authorities, contact the customer, let them know something happened, but they very rarely actually prevent something from happening. So it's a pretty expensive way to basically give you a little bit of advance notice that something happened. One thing that we do a little bit is alarm systems with beams and motion detectors. They're very prone to false alarms when they're outdoors. We have, animals can trigger a beam or a motion detector. The wind, rain, leaves blowing, things of that nature can trigger beams and motion detectors. So we don't have a lot of confidence in those when the alarm goes off. Also, they get damaged a lot. The beams are lower to the ground. Again, they're trying to be at the same height as a person walking around, so we have them lower at the ground. Maybe somebody's moving trucks in and out, backing trailers in and out, product, whatever. They get blocked, they get bumped, they get broken. Very expensive with service calls. Eventually, very often, they just get disconnected and removed from the system because they're very problematic. One thing we do a lot of, most people have this in their facilities today, is a typical video surveillance system. And video surveillance is great for maybe viewing what's going on, maybe if you know your workers who moved this particular pallet over there, maybe some sort of an accident, something like that. But when it comes to actual burglaries and crimes, very rarely is that video useful after the fact. You're always trying to review the incident later. Well, it's dark, the person might have been wearing a hoodie, they're far away, it's just fuzzy, and there's just very rarely as we ever get good quality video that you can actually prosecute with current video surveillance systems that most people have. And also, again, it's reactionary. We're reacting after the incident happened rather than being proactive and doing something ahead of time. What I would like to introduce to you today is what we call intelligent video monitoring. I like to call it the better mousetrap. Basically, what this is a proactive approach to video. Rather than reactive, where we review the video after the fact, we're actually going to use the intelligent video monitoring to try to prevent crimes from happening. The best cameras for outdoor monitoring use thermal technology. We use a system called SiteLogix, and we'll talk about some of the benefits of that. SiteLogix started making military-grade thermal imagers for nuclear weapons storage. The only difference from that camera versus the camera that we use is the clarity, but they do use the same chipset. When we compare our smart thermal cameras to traditional outdoor detection solutions, we basically get a lot better performance, we reduce false alarms, and we also have less equipment damage because the cameras are typically up in the air versus down at lower ground level like your beams and motion detectors. So why is thermal video so reliable? Well, it sees through the rain, sleet, snow, fog, works with virtually no light. It ignores sun, reflections, other various things that would give normal cameras a lot of difficulty seeing. What I'd like to do now is talk about the 3 reasons why SiteLogix is so unique. We're going to touch on all of these briefly. Full dynamic range analysis, video stabilization, and auto size calibration. So the first reason is they analyze a full dynamic range. Basically what this means is thermal works off of the gray scale. All shades that change anywhere between black and white. SiteLogix processes 16,384 shades of gray, where the closest competitor is 256 shades of gray. So it's 64 times more data being processed. So this basically creates a higher probability of detection, and it also extends the range of detection. More data, more accurate, longer range. If we look at these 2 photos side by side, on the left we have a 256 shades being processed versus 16,000 plus shades on the right hand side. If you look on the left with less shades of gray, we get a lot more washed out look, a lot less clarity. If we look at even the trees in the background, they're a lot more washed out. We're a little more focused in on the picture to the right. If we look up at the bridge, we can see a semi going across. On the left, it's just kind of a blob of white. On the right, you can actually make out the cab to the right side of the trailer. If we just look around, you can just see details are a lot crisper, a lot clearer, a lot easier to see. In this image here, we see a little bit of what we call thermal crossover, and that's when the temperatures are close. If you look at the person on the left-hand side and you look at them according to the background, it's pretty much just black all the way across. Where if you look at the image to the right, we can actually see the face, and if you look a little closer, you can even see the person is likely wearing a t-shirt and shorts. You can't get that same detail on the image from the left. Again, just another picture where you can just see the clarity. If you look at the fence on the left, it's pretty washed out and blurry. If you look at the fence on the right, it's much clearer, easier to see. The detail in the trees, detail in the power lines. There's just so much more data being processed, which gives you a much more accurate picture of what's going on. A very important feature that SiteLogix has is video stabilization. So imagine we're trying to pick up a human being that's 300, 400, 500, maybe even over 600 feet away. If that camera is moving or wiggling hardly at all, it's going to blur that object at that distance. So what SiteLogix does is they basically map all of the static objects in the screen, and then they overlay the things that are moving, and they're able to use that technology to stabilize that video. So what you're going to notice here in this particular video is we're going to have a person walk in. They're about 150, 200 feet away. They're going to walk around. Then a few seconds later, you're going to see a second person come in about 350 feet away. But what you notice is in the raw video, it's not picking it up as an analytic object because it's bouncing around too much. But in the SiteLogix video, it's using the processor built into the camera to stabilize that image, and it recognizes that those are humans, and it's creating the bounding box around that particular person. And there the second person's coming in from the right. And what I like is as soon as it comes out from behind the tree, it immediately picks the person up. It's so quick. The next very important feature that SiteLogix does very well is auto size calibration. Depending on how close or far away from a camera, a person or an animal is going to look bigger or smaller. So in the picture to the left, it's pretty typical what we see kind of normally every single day. The man is larger than the dog. That's easy. But in the picture to the right, where the man is really far away and the dog is up close, the dog is larger than the man. So oftentimes when a target gets farther away, a camera will misinterpret that person for an animal because the size looks so small. So all we do is we input the height of the camera when we install it, and then the camera has intelligence built inside of it that auto calculates the angles, where that target is, how far away it is, how big it is, and it can detect that man even though they're smaller than a dog up close, and it can accurately detect that that is a human being. So it's ignoring animals, but yet it's picking up the targets that we want. So the solution, again, is the SiteLogix thermal camera. It has thermal imagers built inside of it that uses video analytics. The video analytics is what allows the camera to detect person, animals, vehicles versus leaves and things blowing in the wind. It does also have a standard color sensor built inside of it, which has analytics. And it also has LED illuminators to allow the standard camera to see it at night. All of these different things are combined into one box, and that helps us create a more accurate camera that doesn't miss intruders and has low false alarms. In this next video, we have a SiteLogix camera set up. The image to the left is the thermal, and the image to the right is the standard color video. If you notice in the standard color video, there is a box inside of it, and that is the thermal area. The standard color video is a little bit wider angle. What we'll notice here in this video is somebody comes along from the right-hand side, and it'll put a yellow box around that person, meaning it's recognizing them as a person, but it's not triggering that as an alarm yet because they haven't reached the fence, which is where the alarm region is set up. And I also find interesting in this video, if you pay attention to the thermal video on the left-hand side, you'll actually see a bird fly in, and it'll have a yellow box around it. It doesn't trigger an alarm, but it's pretty neat that it picked that bird up. And then you'll also notice as the cars are driving by in the road, they'll have yellow boxes around them as well, and they are not triggering alarms. So there's the person coming in, the yellow box around them. See the cars. There's the bird just came in on the left. I don't know if you saw that or not. Here's another image at night. You can see again the thermal detection is picking up the heat of the person, and yet the HD camera is also picking them up. And the two cameras are working together to create accuracy. And this particular one here is interesting. This is again seeing through rain. The image to the right, you'd hardly even see that person. Again, here's some heavy snow. The thermal's picking up through the heavy snow. Those boats are about 300 feet away. There it's detecting the person. There it turns into an alarm. Here's approaching from the other side of the fence. As soon as they get to the fence, there it triggers an alarm there. So you can start kind of seeing the ideas of the scope of areas that these cameras can cover. This is just a job site. Again, just trying to show all the colors and all the activity and all the things going on. It's another large job site. A lot of people have fuel trucks and want to know when people are approaching them. I'm sorry, fuel tanks. This video shows the distance, the detection range that these cameras can do. This person is over 500 feet away. And there we see the yellow box around them, triggers the red into an alarm. Again, we wouldn't really have an alarm set up there. This was just for testing purposes. It's pretty impressive that it can pick up people that far away. Here's a night view with the thermal and also the color imager. Again, about 500 feet away, so pretty impressive and accurate. In this video, it's really neat to see how the camera picks up vehicles, people, animals. Again, it's not using the animal as a false alarm. False alarms are really bad. They overwhelm our central station. They give you lack of trust in the system. So we work really, really hard to eliminate false alarms, and I think this video shows how accurate these can be. There's the yellow box around the dog. There's the yellow box around the person. We have the car. Again, now the person's an alarm, the car is an alarm, but yet the dog is not. I also think this is pretty cool when you look through those trees, how quickly it picks them back up. As soon as they come out from behind the tree, it picks them up very quick with very good accuracy. And again, in this video, it's the same dog and owner, but again, 500 feet away. The next component that makes this solution so powerful is Checked. And Checked creates the interface that brings this into our central station and also an app-driven user interface for the customer. Checked is a web browser based system. It's very simple, easy to set up. We can create various regions for alarms. You can create different schedules, like I don't want any cars in this area at this particular time. The idea is once you set it, you kind of forget it. Very simple, very easy to use and set up. When we have an actual alarm, like for example, this particular white car drove through this trip line. And what that does is it brings it up as an alarm on our computer screens. We can see a repeating loop over and over of the actual event that triggered the alarm, but we can also see a live view of that camera. So we can see, what's going on. Are they still there? Where did they go? This is all helpful information that we can pass along to the authorities. We also can go to a map view. Say you have multiple cameras on your facility. We can hover our mouse over the camera and then we can get a snapshot of that particular camera. But as the people are moving around in your facility, we can also follow them if we have cameras in those locations. This is great information to pass along to the authorities as well. This is a sample of the app view that the end user gets. What's really neat about this is you can see the alarm at the same time that we did, and you can also cancel it or you can verify that it's a real alarm. We get those notifications of whatever you're pressing on the app, and say you have multiple people within your organization, they actually would see what somebody else in their organization had did. So say Bill canceled the alarm and David logs in afterwards, he can see that somebody had already canceled that alarm. One other very powerful pieces to the Checked system is the audio talk down. We can play pre-recorded messages or we can type messages and have custom messages being stated when the camera picks up a person in your facility. These are some actual videos of audio talk down in action. You can see the reaction from the person when they hear this voice. They're not going to stick around. They're going to leave. And again, this is trying to be proactive. We want to eliminate things from happening rather than going back later and trying to review and figure out what happened.
Your description has been provided to the police department, and they are currently en route.
trespassing. Please leave the area. This area is under video surveillance and you have been recorded.
I like this video. So many businesses have their work trucks parked outside, unprotected areas. You notice this person comes over the fence, goes to the van.
Please leave the area. This area is under video surveillance and you have been recorded.
And just like that, they run away. The audio scares them away. So there's a case where that truck would have been broken into. We would have been reviewing security video the next day. We'd see nothing, we'd get nothing, and this particular case was proactive, scared them away. Another thing too, criminals talk to other criminals. So somebody's going to say, yeah, I was over, here breaking into a truck, and, all of a sudden I heard this voice telling me that I'm trespassing and so on. So criminals talk to other criminals. So once you have the system in place and people know about it, it's going to spread. The next few slides, I'm just going to show you some various layouts, ways that we can cover very, very large areas with not a lot of cameras. This is an enormous auto auction, and what is that? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 cameras covering the perimeter. Now we're not covering every inch, we're not covering everything in the middle. The idea here is just simply to create a barrier around the outside. Here's an RV manufacturer, again, a very large lot, just basically protecting the perimeter. Very often the solution is as easy as just one camera. There's one area that you want to have protected. This particular area is just the back of the building there. That particular area, again, we can create regions within that space. It doesn't cover every bit of that triangle, just the areas that we want to see. This slide is really just to show you they only have 6 cameras in their lineup. Some are shorter, some are wider, some are longer, and so on. All of these are just laid over a football field just to show you the size of the area that these particular cameras can cover. It's pretty impressive to think that you can have a camera that's covering 600 feet away with the accuracy that these cameras do. We really can do pretty much any application. This slide just shows a little bit of about response times. When you have a break-in and you call and you say, hey, I had a break-in, or we call and say, hey, we have an alarm going off, the response time usually isn't that great. When we have an actual crime in progress, it bumps it up to a higher priority. Therefore, we do get a faster response time. But really, even if you look at this slide, even with the video, it's still not that great. It's still not as good as it can be, but it's considerably better than with a traditional alarm system. This is why we like the audio, because again, we'd rather just get rid of the people. I know everybody wants to catch somebody in the act, and we do that, and it's fun, but it's all about limiting loss and trying to just get rid of the bad person. So just in summary, our solution offers outstanding outdoor detection. It's reliable, repeatable performance. We can do it over and over again. Very easy to use, very easy to implement. It just works. Very few false alarms, very high reliability, and very accurate. And that concludes our presentation of intelligent video monitoring. I hope you found it informative and you're thinking of ways that this will work in your particular application. If you'd like to get a quote, please call us at 419-537-6768, or you can email us at info@habitecsecurity.com. I really do appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to listen to our solution on intelligent video monitoring. I hope you have a great day. Thank you.